Perfect.
So I want to take a moment to welcome everyone to the e-commerce webinar, talking about adding a new revenue stream to your existing store today. And with me presenting is William Myers of the Denison Development Alliance. William, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, I hope everyone here can see William here on the screen. And then also, we've got Jonathan Menjivar Lopez, our project manager here at Undaunted.
Hey everybody, I'm Jonathan. I will be managing the Q&A. So as you answer or you ask questions, there's a little button at the bottom of your screen that says Q&A. Please type your questions as we go. We'll either try to answer them on screen or in the actual chat. And we'll have a few opportunities to do that throughout the presentation.
Yeah, so we will have 3 Q&A breaks during the presentation where we will stop and formally address what's come through the Q&A pipeline. And then we also have Rebecca Robinson with Discover Denison. She's waving back there with William.
Yep, I had technical difficulties.
All right, so I guess you guys will be sharing the computer. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. Let's go ahead and identify, who this webinar is for. Really, this webinar is for anybody who's looking to learn more about e-commerce. This is a real high-level overview of e-commerce, and there's something that everyone can learn, even if you already have e-commerce. There may be something that you haven't thought about in a while that we'll bring up, and then also, this is for Denison residents, people who are applying for the e-commerce accelerator program. The city of Denison has set aside some funds to incentivize businesses to add e-commerce to their business in order to bring greater success to the city of Denison and their businesses. And we will be talking about that, or not we, William Myers will be talking about that in a moment. So I want to go ahead and share with you all a little of information about who we are. So this is a video about our company. That's me right there. I'm going to go ahead and click play. And then Jonathan, interrupt me if the video can't be heard for any reason. I think the people that I work with are some of the coolest people and some of the most reliable people. We definitely have a lot of fun together, and we're always there for each other. Donson started upstairs in an old abandoned church. It was a concrete floor, 2 old desks, and some cinder block walls. It was rough at first, but we started to renovate the space around us and then turn it into something that we look forward to coming to work in. Undaunted stands out because we have a collaborative process. It allows our clients to take ownership of the final product that we help them to create, and it's effective because it solves their problem. We don't stop working until we have something that we're proud of and that we know is going to make an impact in that client's business and be something that they can hold up and say, I'm really proud of this. So we are a branding and design agency. This is our, I think the people that, this is our bread and butter. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this full screen again. How do I do that? Here we go. So next, many of you, especially those of you who have boutiques, have probably heard of Tori Gerbig. Tori is an amazing success story. She's only been in business for 6 years, and she runs one of the largest online boutiques. And I want to play a video from her for a second to kind of set your mind frame, get you to see really what's possible when it comes to the world of e-commerce.
Female CEO check. Today I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes tour for my warehouse for my online boutique, pinklily.com. 6 years ago, I started this boutique right inside my home, and now we currently have a 50,000 square foot warehouse where we have over 85 employees and ship out anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 units a day. We sell monogram items and mainly focus on women's boutique clothing and accessories. Our upstairs area houses all of our samples, and we also have a separate section where the photo shoot team does take the product images for the website and for our lifestyle social media posts. We have several different setups where we try to get content as needed for our social media. And then downstairs, we house all of our inventory, which is currently around 350,000 units on hand. In just 6 years, we've sold over $100 million in sales and currently are one of the fastest online growing boutiques in the nation. Hope you enjoyed the tour.
So that's absolutely insane. She's at 55,000 square foot warehouse, and she's done $100 million in business over the past 6 years. And she's selling boutique items online, and she's doing a really good job of it. And so really, when it comes to thinking about e-commerce and setting our expectations for it, it's going to be as valuable as the effort and the input that you put into it. There's really no cap to the amount that you can make, and your audience is absolutely massive because you're not selling locally to people who are walking by and seeing your shop. You're selling to the entire US or possibly the entire world, especially if you have a product that fits that market. So we're going to go ahead and get into what we're talking about today. So this webinar is divided into 3 sections. Number 1, we're going to talk about preparing your business for e-commerce. Are you ready to add an e-commerce store? Are there things that you need to take care of first before you do that? And then second, we're going to talk about implementing e-commerce. What's that like? What's it like to get an inventory online? What's a good workflow? And again, this is all pretty high level. We don't have a whole lot of time to talk about this. I'm sure, many of you are maybe taking a late lunch or something to do this. And then finally, we're going to talk about marketing for e-commerce. It's actually a lot easier than you think. But of course, if you have an e-commerce store and you don't have any visitors to it, you're not going to make any sales. So you got to constantly be marketing, constantly driving traffic to that store. And so we're also going to talk about whether or not e-commerce is for you. I've spent time interviewing business owners and trying to understand their challenges. And I'm sure some people watching this here have actually been interviewed by me. And some things I've heard is, my inventory is constantly changing. It's impossible to keep up. Or maybe someone is dealing in used or consigned items where there's only one of each item and that's the only item that's ever there. And then once it's sold, it's gone. And then finally, there's people that have like a massive inventory. Take like a bookstore, for instance. You're just thinking, I'll never be able to get all that into the system. And we're going to try to address some of these. And I'll go ahead and just tackle a few right now. When it comes to a constantly changing inventory or dealing in used or consigned items, I want to say with e-commerce, it's really worth the effort that you put in. There's so many opportunities to increase your sales volume, like many, many times beyond what you're doing today, that if you can either take the extra time or pay extra laborers to get items into your inventory, to get a good workflow in place to add items to inventory and remove items as they're sold out, it is going to be worth it, and you're going to make more money than you spend. And then when it comes to massive inventories, there's ways that you can use pre-existing databases, in fact, to especially like for a bookstore where you could just search in books, add in a quantity, and just keep on going. You could get a whole bookstore online in a month or two that way. And so just continue on. I want to pause for a second and hand it over to William Myers. He is VP of Business Development with the Denison Development Alliance. They're doing a lot of great work to push Denison forward. And it's thanks to William that we were able to do this webinar in the first place. He invited us to kind of participate and help bring some education around e-commerce to Denison businesses. So William, I'm going to turn it over to you. William, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate you pulling this together. We been looking at the purpose for this, and strengthening Denison businesses is what comes to the top of the list. When COVID-19 happened, we felt like that we had to do something. We felt like we needed to do something with e-commerce for some time, but COVID-19 really brought it to our attention that we had to do something. As you know, for a few days, it felt like the world stopped moving, but it didn't. We realized there were businesses that were already set up. They were already set up to handle online marketing, online sales, contactless transactions, fulfillment via shipping, maybe delivery, curbside service, etc. We all think of Amazon.com or Walmart, the curbside pickup, but there are local examples too. A lot of us ate out those first few days and did delivery orders, and the places that we immediately thought of was pizza or some other companies that were already set up to do online transactions and even delivery. And so there are other businesses in town that were able to respond easily as well. And one of those that I'd like to mention to you really wasn't set up online pre-COVID. They had their inventory online, and they began shipping online sales March 6th. And that's Derek and Emily at Pop Around the Corner. So if you look in February of 2020, they didn't have any online sales for shipping. In April, their online sales were double their in-store sales. And they've actually shipped one international shipment about a week ago. So that just shows, I think that's a great example of the transition that these companies, a lot of companies started looking to do if they were not already set up online. We have several other examples that I can't go into now, but we'll be sharing some of those stories as we move forward with this. We began looking for ideas of how we could help businesses diversify in response to COVID, and came across some articles online. And Donna Dow shared one from the National Main Street blog on April 9th. And then there was a New York Times article we actually came across after that was April 7th. And there's an article on a blog of the Daily Yonder on April 24th. And that was all based on some GoDaddy venture forward research that I'll cover later on in this. But the e-commerce accelerator incentive grant program was created to respond and to try to help empower businesses to make these changes that some of them hadn't realized were so pressing beforehand. And so just digging into that, went to the DDA board asking if we could put a promotion like this together, an incentive package together. We ended up coming up with a $6,000 grant. It's a 75% match on an $8,000 e-commerce project. It's a marketing program that includes preparation and promotion. You can think of it just like you would a magazine ad or a TV commercial. You've got to prepare your ad, then you place your ad. Well, the two critical components that we wanted to make sure that we were encouraging businesses to do was to create e-commerce capability and to promote that capability. So we created two different levels on that. And the first level is called launch e-commerce. If a business doesn't have e-commerce, or they have a very limited e-commerce presence, they would fit under this program, which is 75% preparation and 25% promotion. So out of the $8,000 project, $6,000 would be spent towards preparation and $2,000 would be spent towards promotion. A level 2 is called Amplify e-commerce. If somebody already has e-commerce and they're highly capable, but they might want to make some improvements, they could spend up to 25% for preparation and 75% plus for promotion. So that helps them enhance, maybe expand some service or increase their subscription with a Shopify or a different provider, and improve the customer experience. And then they would spend the rest of the funds on promoting that capability. So our process is, you need to reach out. None of us are experts in this, but we have people like Undaunted and other local providers that help us decide and figure out where to get started in this navigation. And so reach out to your consultant. They'll do analysis with you to help determine what the best plan and approach is for you. You'll turn that plan in via our application, which is online. Then it's a 6-month program, 6 full months. So the first full month you'll report the changes in your stats and submit for reimbursement at that point in time. So the business is being reimbursed on a monthly basis over a 6-month period. And then after 6 months is done, there's no more no more reporting. We'll close out the program, and they'll keep working with that e-commerce, and hopefully the increase in sales will provide additional funds to continue doing e-commerce expansion and other capabilities in the future. The benefits for this, the benefits from this from a community standpoint are at the entrepreneur level and at the community level. And the very last sentence of that venture forward research that GoDaddy did, which is actually shared on that link below that you see under apply, we shared the research there because this is a strategy for promoting economic opportunity at the entrepreneur level and to promote thriving communities. The surprising impact of everyday entrepreneurs compared in similar communities, those with greater density of online ventures, they recovered from the Great Recession more fully, and they had an increase in median income by $331. So the average annual increase in median income across the nation's 3,100 counties was $1,700 for 2016-2017. Adding one highly active venture per 100 people in a county increased the household median income gains by $331 on average. If there's no better reason to encourage this and promote this, to help entrepreneurs and individuals create wealth in the community, which in turn creates a wealthier community, I don't know what it would be. So we're thrilled to bring this. We're very happy with the response that we've heard from Denison businesses already. We've actually have one application in, and I know a few more are already being prepared and final preps to be turned in. I just want to thank you for the interest in the program, and thank you for taking the time to listen to this webinar today. And I look forward to questions later on in the webinar.
Thank you for presenting, William. It was very good. And I'm really excited about this e-commerce accelerator program. Like you said, it improves the entire community and the household income. So we're going to move on to preparing your business for e-commerce. And so we're going to start with really some pretty basic things that apply directly to your business plan. And, as you know, that business plan should be something that we have written down and that we are referring back to every year to make sure that we're on track to reach our goals. So we ask ourselves some questions like, what's my annual revenue right now? What's my target annual revenue? And then am I on track to reach my target? And if I'm not, what do I need to do or change to reach my goals? Because you can reach that target. It's just a matter of figuring out what needs to change or what you need to do. And so here we're talking about, how we can add e-commerce, which may require some upfront investment, but is going to pay off. And the other things we want to make sure we have in place is we want to know that our business is branded so that we have a logo, we have a website that's e-commerce ready. And then we also want to make sure we have claimed our digital property. So do we have Google My Business? So what if someone's searching for your business, do you have your little profile that pops up with a little photo of you, a call now button, et cetera, your social media accounts. So whether that's going to be Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever that is, that you've got those 2 or 3 social media accounts that are your property and that you're posting to them. Finally, we want to make sure that because we are owners of physical businesses, that we're also on destination websites like Yelp, TripAdvisor, Manta, Yellow Pages, et cetera, where we're being listed so that people who are searching for services or goods that we provide can find us quite easily, whether they're searching Google and then your listing pops up through Yelp, or if they're on a dedicated travel website, like TripAdvisor. And of course, we want to make sure we own our business name URL. So yourbusiness.com, or your business maybe is at an alternative URL like .org or .team, et cetera. Make sure that you own that, and that you don't have something that's like wix.yourbusiness.com or weebly.yourbusiness.com, but that you actually have that name. It helps tremendously helping you to get found online. And then, of course, when it comes to building a sales strategy, marketing strategy, we want to make sure that we know our customer base. So who are our buyers? And then we may have a good profile for our buyers that walk in our doors, but we may not know who could encounter us online. And so we'll need to build that and adjust accordingly. So maybe, you know, we're selling fishing gear, and so we're trying to find a fisherman or something, but it turns out, you know, the person that's really coming to our website is there for the waterproof boots because they actually raise eels. So we want to make sure that we are finding and planning to reach a customer base, and then finding out who that customer base really is so we can communicate better with them. So let's think about that buyer right now. So who's come through your doors in the past? And then think of one person who will spend money with you and purchase your product if you present it to them. Now, this person is going to be the one person that we build in all of our messaging. And so this is what we call in our business defining a target market audience. So before we do anything when it comes to helping our clients to market and advertise, we want to make sure we build a really solid target market profile. And so that includes all this information you see listed here. We want to know, you know, this person may not be a real person, but we make them as real as we can to us. So instead of saying, oh, you know, my target market is like males age 30 to 45, we want to say our target market is actually Thomas Johnston, and he makes $45,000 a year. He has 2 children, 5 and 9, and he is 43 years old. So you see, we've got someone now that we can talk about like they're a real person, and then we can think and we can relate to this person a little bit better, because now we think, okay, so where does he go whenever he's looking for a good pair of boots? And now we've got this Tom profile in our head. We can see Tom walking down the street rather than this fuzzy nebulous thing of all males, you know, 30 to 45 walking down the street. So here's a little example. This is something we built quite recently for a client of ours. This is Dylan and Debbie Michaels. He's a physician. She's his office manager. They have 2 kids in college. They're 54 and 53. And we even thought about, you know, their hobbies, like how do they spend their time? So when they're not working, they're traveling. They're visiting that ranch that they own. He likes to go hunting. They volunteer at their church. They're very active in their communities. And of course, he likes to golf. They both drive Fords. Of course, they drive those higher end, those SE package Fords, you know, with the leather seats. Probably, you know, like an Explorer or a Ford Fusion. And he wears Carhartt whenever he's out on the ranch or out hunting. And so already we have someone that's pretty well defined. So we want to get somewhere like this whenever we're defining our target markets for our stores. So moving on to how we're planning, we want to make sure we have a marketing budget. Your marketing budget should be 7 to 8% of your annual income. And this applies to most businesses, most industries, especially small businesses. And we want to divide that income. We want to divide that budget further down. Like, are we investing back into our community? Are we sponsoring certain events or maybe children's sports programs? And then besides the money that we're placing locally, what are we placing online? How much is going into like our Facebook budget or Google search budget, et cetera? And we'll get into a little bit more detail about that, but it's really important that you have a plan for your marketing budget going forward. Maybe you won't have, you know, that 7 or 8% that we're talking about. If your annual income, you know, is $1 million, maybe you don't have all that cash at the same time, but you can budget it month to month, and we can make those dollars work for us to increase our sales. Finally, we want to look at our store operations. Do you have a POS system? You know, is it Clover, Square, et cetera? We want to make sure that we have something that allows us to manage our inventory and make the checkout process very easy for our clients. Furthermore, a good POS system, that's point of sale system, a good system is also going to allow you to implement a loyalty program. And as we know, as business owners, loyalty programs do just that. They help to build customer loyalty, and they help us to get that extra 10, 25% sales annually, because we get those customers that are coming back to use the rewards. And while they're in the store, they of course are picking out even more items. And you know, if you're giving away value, you're giving away something for free, you're still going to make your money back on that loyal customer. And then we want to know, is your inventory and your accounting system connected? So basically, you know, if you scan something and it leaves your store, is that one less item in your inventory? Or are you constantly manually checking your inventory? So if you sell something online and then it checks out, you ship it out, is that one item less of your inventory? It's very important to maintain accurate inventory counts. We'll talk more about that in a bit. So I want to pause here, because that is the first part of preparing our business for e-commerce. Are there any questions, comments at this point? Jonathan?
I'm not seeing any questions. Again, you can ask questions in a little chat section here at the bottom. Just type them out. You can also make those questions anonymous if you'd like. Just click the anonymous checkbox. We'll be here for a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes if you want to take a break as well. So let me know.
And for those who joined us a little bit later, Jonathan is a project manager here at Undaunted. He deals directly with our clients, and super great at what he does, and helped me to get this webinar together and promoted.
Okay. You did a lot of research though, which is nice.
It's been like a month learning e-commerce. All right, so moving forward. Thanks, Jonathan. We're going to talk about implementing e-commerce. And so we've talked about, establishing that target market audience. Now we want to ask ourselves, where are they? Where are they shopping? Like, especially when it comes to e-commerce, are they shopping on the Pinterest platform directly? Maybe are they shopping directly through Instagram? Are they on Amazon? Or are they someone that's visiting our website URL directly and then pulling from our inventory? And that's where we want them, right? That's where it's easiest to grab them. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of people are shopping directly on Pinterest and Instagram these days. And so we want to make sure that we know where they are. And this can be information that you collect by directly interviewing your client base, or maybe you're using some type of a data tool like AdRoll, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But ultimately, we want to know where they are. Another thing that may factor into your decision is processing fees. So processing fees vary quite a lot between different e-commerce platforms, and it's going to also factor in what types of cards and things you accept, whether or not it's integrated with your POS system. And you'll want to look into that carefully, because there's also 2 factors to e-commerce. One is the payment platform itself, like an authorized.net. And then one is the e-commerce platform itself, and both can charge fees. So please do your research and make sure you think that through real carefully. And then of course, we want to look at the type of inventory that we have that may affect how we're selling. For instance, a lot of people find selling direct on Facebook is actually excellent for used or antiques, items they only have one of, and that's more effective than managing an inventory inside of a proper e-commerce platform. Size of inventory, some e-commerce platforms will limit you to how many items you can list or how many categories of items you can list. So you want to be aware of this going in, especially if you have a large inventory. And then you also want to know if it integrates with platforms that you're already using. Does it work with my POS system? Does it work with my Instagram or my Etsy or my Pinterest? Because you really don't want to have to copy and paste that stuff over. It's going to be a lot easier if it already just plugs in and works. And then we want to look at scalability. How many of you guys are going to be Tory Gerbig? How many of you guys are going to be 6 years from now with a 50,000 square foot warehouse, 100 million in sales? And is the platform you select today, is it going to get you there? Or is the platform you select today going to be something that a year or 2 from now you've outgrown, and you find yourself having to almost stop your business while you switch over to a new platform? So that's a problem we don't want to have. We want to make sure that we get something that can grow with us. And then advertising integration. It's really difficult. And I think I mentioned this really before the webinar started while we were just chatting, to run a Facebook campaign through Facebook's platform for e-commerce. Not impossible. It's built to do that, but it takes an expert. There are some excellent e-commerce platforms that allow you to run advertising direct through Facebook, direct through Google. You can select an audience very quickly with a few clicks, select your product that you're promoting, attach a budget to it, and let it fly. It just runs the advertising for you. And this is something that we want to look for in an e-commerce platform, especially if that type of advertising is important to us. Of course, there's other ways to advertise, such as a VIP group on Facebook, et cetera. But all these things working together is what makes for a very powerful and a successful store. So you've heard me talking about e-commerce platforms. You may be like, what the hell is he talking about? Well, we're talking about some of these. You may have heard of some of these. Like Squarespace is a website builder, but they also have an e-commerce platform. It plugs in directly with Square POS. Wix is a pretty cool little website builder, and they have e-commerce as well. It's a bit more limited though, so we want to make sure we understand those limitations before we select something like a Wix. WooCommerce is very powerful, and it works directly with our WordPress site. So for those of you that may have a WordPress site you've invested a lot in, and you want to stick with your website, WooCommerce may be a good option for you. Magento is a very, very popular e-commerce platform. It's also one of the most flexible and expandable. It requires a lot of coding knowledge to make it work. But if you wanted to power a boutique with it, you could. If you wanted to power the next Amazon.com or eBay with it, you could. And then Shopify is really my personal favorite. It has great integrations with a lot of POSs. It has a lot of plugins, so you can add features to it. And it works really great from small to large businesses. In fact, there's a number of really big brands that use Shopify stores to sell their products. And it has excellent advertising integration, very, very easy to select and promote your products. It also has email marketing built in, which is something that we'll get into a little bit later. So you heard it from here. My personal recommendation is Shopify. Of course, any of these are options, and many of them are good options. We want to make sure that you get a solution that works best for you. So there's 4 steps to running an e-commerce store. One is writing, and we want to learn copywriting for sales, which would mean like writing a good description, making sure we hit those bullet points about our products. We want to make sure we have product photography. And that means that we know how to get good pictures of our products. We have a workflow to get them attached with those descriptions and everything quickly, get them into our inventory. And then finally, we want to have good inventory management processes in place to make sure that our inventory count is accurate, because you don't want to run out of something virtually but still have stock in your store. That's money on the table. And then if you run out of something in store but you're still listing it virtually, you're going to have to find a way to fill those orders whether or not that product is available. So that's sticky too. Again, proper inventory management is huge. And then we want to have a shipping station. So again, we're looking at implementing processes in place that'll help us to run an e-commerce store efficiently and successfully. And shipping is very important because all of your competition is shipping fast. You got to make sure you can ship fast too. So the same day you're getting an order, there's the same day that you're shipping it out. And so we'll talk a little bit more about shipping, but first we'll start with writing for sales. So first of all, be descriptive. Make sure you include like the dimensions, the weight. There's so many times that I've gone to a store and I've thought, I want to buy this, but I want to make sure it's going to fit on my home or fit on myself. And I'm looking for measurements and I can't find them. And then you also want to make sure you have 2 things for your product. One is you want to make sure you got bulleted lists that just list the features and benefits of the product, like 3 or 4 of those. Of course, that's where your eye goes first. And if you caught my interest, then I'm going to read that description. So we'll make sure we have like a 1-paragraph description of the product that goes in enough detail for me to understand, what it's made out of and what the benefits are of it before I make that decision to add it to my cart. The other thing is we're writing for sales, and there is a clear method to closing a sale with writing. And I highly encourage you to do your own research into this and look at copywriting for sales, because it's called copy whenever you write for advertising. And just the biggest thing though, the biggest lesson I think you could take away from this though is, because many of us are going to get started with e-commerce, starting today, starting tomorrow. So make sure you have a call to action. You want to make sure that it says visit us or buy now. It's kind of funny, whenever you receive something in the mail, this is a tangent, but I received something in the mail the other day, and it was for someone that had just graduated high school. I was expecting to see an invitation on it to attend the graduation ceremony, but there was nothing. There was just only a photograph of the graduate. And this is because of quarantine, right? You can't go to the graduation. But I realized it didn't have a call to action on it. Usually whenever something big happens in someone's life, there's a call to action, like attend the graduation or join us at the wedding, bring a gift, And so people are looking to be directed and to know what the next step is. So help them out, let them know, add it to your cart now, buy it while you can. So the next thing is product photography. We want to make sure that we have a section of our store dedicated to taking photos. You saw that Tori Gerbig had a very large, lovely space with furniture and things. But if you're selling small products, I highly recommend that you get a pre-lit light booth. These have LED strips inside of them. They can be easily purchased for $100 to $200. And you want to make sure you get one that has smooth surfaces, not wrinkles or anything. And you can take a picture even with your phone, and it's going to look like as good as something on Amazon.com. So I highly recommend that if you have small products. For those people that have larger products, maybe like a large hanging dress, furniture, you'll want to make sure that you have a 2 or 3 point lighting setup to where you have lights, that you have a big fill light that doesn't cast shadows, and then you have a key light that does cast a shadow going across, and then something from behind to kind of outline it and set it apart from the background. That's 3 point lighting. And so definitely learn a little bit about photography because it can take it a long way. I know that I'm more likely to buy something on Facebook Marketplace or something, if it's got a decent product photo. If it's poorly lit or something, I'm just like, I don't know, does that person have a dirty house? So anyway, moving on. Inventory management. I've been stressing about the importance of making sure it's accurate. But again, good product descriptions, short bullet points, and make sure that inventory is accurate so we don't introduce any problems. I recommend doing a thorough inventory count once yearly and doing an inventory audit once every quarter. And these are general accepted retail practices. So for those of you who have experience in retail, you know what I'm talking about. And so move on. Fulfillment. This is where you ship out your order. So have a plan. When you start running advertising, these orders will come in really fast, and you need to know what you're going to do to get them out. So first of all, you want to have a business account for the best rates with your carrier of choice. So what that means is make sure you're registered with UPS or FedEx or someone that you like to work with. That way you can easily print out those shipping slips and everything, and then they can come and they can pick up all of your orders as they're ready to ship out. And then make sure you've got a process in place to ship on the day you receive your order. Your competition has fast shipping, you should too. And maybe this means that if you want to be out of your shop every day by a certain time, that you have like a shipping cutoff during your day. So you say anything we receive before 3, no matter what, we're going to make sure that we get it shipped. But we want to make sure we have those processes in place to make sure that we have fast shipping. But we also don't want to be a slave to the job as well, right? So our shipping station, we need to take some real estate in our store, and we need to set it aside just for shipping. So this is where you're going to have like your supplies, your boxes, your envelopes, tape, packing materials, packing peanuts, etc. Then you're going to need to have some tools. To get started, you're going to need a scale, tape, scissors, and then you have to have a computer and a label printer there together. And then for shipping, you want to make sure that you have a staging area just for the packages that are going out. Because as you box them up, they're going to take up a lot of space. So you want to make sure you have an area to set those before FedEx comes by, picks them up. And then, of course, packing materials take up a lot of space. So make sure you've got a good size wastebasket for trash and recycling. I'm going to move forward here. Are there any questions concerning implementing e-commerce? Jonathan?
Yes, we actually have a few good questions. This first one, how can I connect rewards to a consignment model business?
That is a really good question. Jonathan, do you have any ideas there? Or I would also William and Rebecca to also weigh in on this.
I know that consignment models are, you have a limited inventory. You don't know what you're getting from your supplier. And so online, it's a little difficult to say, we have these items. I think you need something email-based so that visitors can continue having that experience with you, you can tell them, hey, we have a new item that I think might interest you. Come check it out. It's more about being relevant and making sure that they can have the opportunity to look at what you have in your inventory, because it is limited. You may never have that item again in the future.
Yeah, and also it kind of depends on the consignment store itself. Like if it's a like an antique shop that has maybe different vendors that are represented throughout, who are we rewarding? You know, if we're rewarding the vendors themselves, then maybe they'll be more motivated to do some advertising and stuff to get foot traffic into their booth, you know, in return for better rates and commissions. And then of course, to get people in the store, there would have to be, maybe if you wanted to do like 10% off or whatever, then you have to make sure that that's cleared as well with the contracts that you have with the consignments themselves. William, do you have anything to add to this? Rebecca?
Well, I was just thinking that, so I have a friend that does, some of y'all know her who are on here. She owns Zigzag Galleries. Her name's Jenna, and she does thrifting, and she sells her thrift finds on her Instagram stories. So like if it's clothes, she's putting them on, or earrings or whatever. And I actually tried that myself with I was reselling a rug, and I sold it within 5 minutes on my Instagram story. So that's just the first thing that I thought of.
Well, and from the Shopify setup, is that something that you would just structure within Shopify? If you're different consignment, because if it's a consignment shop, the store owner would be the only one that would have that control, correct?
I believe so. Yeah. And if they were to mark off a percentage on something, then, you know, the person that is also owning that item though would need to somehow be aware that they're going to receive less, or the store owner themselves is going to have to be prepared to receive less to promote that item.
Hopefully that would just be a setting that you can go in and pick certain items that would receive a discount, or certain vendors. That's a good question for Shopify.
Yeah, you can for sure, you know, go into Shopify and then set different products to be on sale, you know, with just check boxes, or even set them to be featured, you know, if you wanted to clear them out of your inventory quickly.
I was just thinking it would be neat if you could show who the supplier was, you know, so you could sort your inventory by who the supplier is and see what else that particular supplier has. Maybe someone likes the style of a particular supplier for that regularly sells in that shop, or has a space in that shop.
Yeah, and you raise a good point there, because Shopify is a very powerful platform, and you can actually get other sellers to sell underneath your store. So then you could sort, like you said, by supplier. And then if you wanted to, you could even have those other sellers manage their own stores.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like that you take a specific amount of commission on what they sell on your store. And so this is something to consider too, if you are paying for a lot of advertising and stuff to come through your store, so you know you have a lot of traffic that's coming through your website, then that could be a reason for you to take an even bigger commission, but also another reason for people to want to list on your website, because they know it'll get sold faster.
We actually have Samantha sent in, FYI, as a winery, our discount structure is set up in our point of sale program, which will automatically apply the discount based on certain quantity or quantity buys. So that's also a good way to promote loyalty and an upsell.
Yeah, I think that's kind of common. I don't want to wrap like wine and liquor together, but it is part of the liquor store model too, where, you know, because they do deal in a lot of bulk with restaurants and things.
All right, we have another question here. I think this one might be for William. What if I am between two levels, between the launch and the amplify? Can someone guide us on which to pick?
I would say that's probably an automatic launch category. if you don't have multiple, maybe you're really versed in selling on Instagram or Facebook Live, or maybe it's just your website with a e-commerce plugin. But if you don't have multiple platforms, or you want to make a considerable improvement to your system or your arrangement, then I would say it'd definitely be a launch. The Amplify is really for that person that has pretty robust capabilities and may want to make some improvements, but ultimately just wants to push out more aggressively to promote their business. And so it's, we made it to where on the Amplify, it could be 100% promotion. But if somebody wants to spend up to 25% for preparation, then they could do that. So it's a pretty distinct line between the two. And so on the launch, it would be up to $6,000 on preparation and $2,000 for promotion, which then, and if you look at it that way, if you're going to spend $2,000 on promotion anyway over a 6-month period, then you basically get $6,000 of preparation for free.
Yeah, and the other thing too, William, and correct me if I'm wrong, but won't the consultant and the business work together to gather information and to perform somewhat of an audit, and then the consultant would come back and work with the Denison Development Alliance to really determine, is this a phase 1 or phase 2 business?
Absolutely. We do encourage engagement of a consultant, advisor, someone that may be someone implementing your entire program, or it might be someone just helping you determine what you need. Because one of the things that we've all, quite a few people in Denison have participated in the John Shallert, the Destination Boot Camp program. And one of the things he really stresses is recognizing where your expertise is and where it's not. And a lot of people, a lot of businesses in town, and including the DDA, we don't have a lot of experience with e-commerce. And so we're encouraging people to reach out to those experts and engage them. So you make more informed decisions and your money goes to the most efficient place possible.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, we have one more question, and I think we will be ready to move on. Is it possible to build a gift basket in your store? Or would it be better to just have, X, Y, and Z gift baskets, and that's all you can choose?
Oh, is the gift basket like a surprise basket of goods?
Yeah. I think it's like, can you build somebody a big gift basket in your store? And I actually have an answer for this. My wife loves picnic baskets. And so I found a service a few years ago that they let me choose the cheese and the ham and all the produce that was going to go into it. So there are capabilities on how you can establish your store so that it gets sent to the customer in a specific way. It's a little bit more work on the back end. Obviously, you're going to have to take each order, and it's a custom order that you are taking to make it, create this basket. So the only thing I would say that you need to really focus on is that prep work, and that's where we're talking about: are you going to use some of this capital to prepare the back end or to promote what you're already doing? And it just takes a little bit of preparation, but you can definitely have that custom build basket in your store.
Would you read that question again?
Is it possible to build a gift basket in your store? Or would it be better to have X, Y, and Z gift baskets, like 3 separate already set baskets that you can choose from?
I would diversify.
Do both?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I'd have gift baskets. And then number 2, I'd have like 3 different levels. And then if there's surprise items inside, then I would simply say like if for instance, it's a picnic basket, then I would say this basket contains like a cheese and a wine and a cracker, but we're not telling you which. And then there's a surprise. Maybe that's the meat, I don't know, or a dessert, But then, there would be the 3 different levels where like they vary in price. And then you could decide what type of a gift basket you're going to buy for a friend or even for yourself.
That's really good.
Having that diversity there would help you to see, first of all, do you have a winner? You know, do you have a good product, and then which product is selling better than the others? If you only give people one option, you may have a great idea, but you might have the wrong product.
Awesome. Thank you for those wonderful questions.
Yeah, thanks everybody. So we're going to move on to marketing for e-commerce. So we're going to dive in and talk a little bit about how we plan for marketing. So we've got, at the beginning, we talked about defining our target market audience, so we know who we're marketing to. But now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. We're going to talk about how we're going to market to the who. So, you know, we've learned in marketing, you know, that there's a buyer's journey, you know, where they become aware of a product, and then they consider purchasing the product, and then they make a decision to purchase the product. But we also know that this is not a journey the buyer takes alone. They don't simply become aware of our product and then think about it for a while and then decide to buy it. Rather, they become aware of our product, maybe by seeing an ad or something, or seeing, you know, that we sponsored something. And then when they once again have an opportunity to buy that product, maybe they've walked into your store because they recognized it or something, because they had some time to walk downtown. You know, then they see what you have to offer. Now they're considering, and maybe it's up to you to ask for that sale, right? So that they can decide to buy it. And I think many of us with a background in sales know that if you don't ask for the sale, the buyer may just walk out of the store, even though they were ready to spend money. So we're going to talk about kind of defining that for our buyers. And so we need to really write our own buyer story. And again, you can do this with the help of a consultant or agency. But again, I want to give you these tips so that you can establish your own e-commerce presence and take initiative here. So are they going to start with a web search? And then how are they going to interact with my product? Or where will they interact with my product? You know, are we going to do like a video walkthrough on our website? Or are we going to do like a 3D thing where you can move the product around? And then what can I do to meet my customers on their journey to buy my product? So you know that someone out there is going to purchase this product. How do you interject yourselves into their story? So if, for instance, their story is going to begin with a web search, how are we going to make sure that we're the first link they click on? So of course, we can start with search engine optimization. This is a fancy term that gets thrown around a lot by a lot of smart people, but it's pretty easy. You basically ensure that whenever someone searches for your product on Google, that you're the first result, or at least you're in the first 3 results. And I highly recommend that if you're managing your own website, you take a look at Google Search Console. This is an opportunity to track your website over time, see how it's performing in searches, and it gives you recommendations and things to help you to improve your website to reach the people that you want it to reach. Yeah, and then also, as you can see here, if I've searched Denison, Texas boutique, it's kind of small here, but if I search Denison, Texas boutique, these are the first 3 results, and these are ads, and none of them are in Denison. This is Pink Lily. We talked about them earlier. I don't know where they are, but they're not in Denison, okay? And you can be right here. All you've got to do is buy that space. So buy search engine marketing, be that number 1. So when someone searches Denison, Texas boutique, they actually get a Denison, Texas boutique. This is just free advice. This is absolutely just an outstanding opportunity for you to be there instead of Pink Lily. And it's based on a bidding system. So you would basically bid to be the highest bidder whenever someone clicks there. But I can't imagine that the bids per click on this are going to be more than $1.50 to $4. And again, if you've got your website set up to convert, you've got the right copywriting and everything where it's telling people to take action, add it to your cart, check out now. You know, you can quickly reclaim that money that you spent getting them to your website. The other thing we talked about is be where your customers are. So maybe your customers are young and they're active Instagram users. Maybe they're moms that are on Pinterest. Maybe they're really into handmade items, and so they're on Etsy. Make sure that your e-commerce platform is extending your store inventory there. Shopify provides some great tools to get your inventory on Instagram. I don't know if you guys know about the Instagram dot, but it's a little dot you put next to a product that's for sale on Instagram, and you can check out right there in the app. Never leave the app, and they could actually check out, make a purchase from you. You would still receive it through your normal e-commerce system, so you know you received an order, you can ship it out the same day, etc. And again, that extends out to Pinterest and Etsy, Facebook online, etc., Facebook Marketplace. And we want to, at every turn, make the process as easy and streamlined as possible. We don't want to be collecting too much information from our customers. We don't want to drag them out with a lot of clicks. When they make that decision to buy, we should make it real easy for them to buy. They should be able to click buy now, enter their shipping information or card information, and they should be able to get the product. And then I also want to mention email marketing. This is very, very powerful. I know that a lot of people say, oh, Nate, email marketing doesn't work. Every time I get emails from people, I just delete them. And so I only use email like for personal connections and things, but the numbers are there. Email marketing works. There are in a well-written email converts really well, especially if it's sent to the right people. And you know who the right people are? They're people that have shopped with you before and entered their email address that you've collected. They're people that like online, but also in person. Maybe they checked out with you and you had a Clover system and it came up and it asked them, hey, would you put in your email address before you finish your checkout? You've got email addresses there. You know how to access these emails. So these are people that have bought from you before. Most likely, they still like you. They want to do business with you. So we're collecting those email addresses. And now I've mentioned here that you can use MailChimp, SendGrid, Constant Contact. There's a number of others out there that you can use to send emails. But the good e-commerce systems, like I mentioned, Shopify actually has email marketing built in. So it's real easy to go in and take an item, put a checkbox on it and say, I'm going to promote this item by email. Write a little bit of copy, talk about, hey, this is our Christmas special. You know, we only have 25 of these. They sell out every year. Be sure to come by and get yours or call to reserve yours or click here to order it now. And then it's an opportunity for you to do special offers. Again, you know, loyalty or, you know, our entire store 10% off and abandoned carts. This is really hot right now, but the numbers are showing that over 85% of abandoned carts can be recovered through an email campaign. And to clarify, an abandoned cart is whenever someone goes to your store and they pick out some items. Let's say you're a boutique, so they put in a cute dress, they pick out a candle, they pick out some bracelets, maybe a hat for the son, and then they get distracted. Maybe it's time to cook dinner. Maybe the kids call it out to them or something. They set their iPad down, and then they never come back to your website. Well, they were on your website. They were possibly even logged in, or you had collected their email address when they first came on the website. And then you know what was in their cart because it's tied to their email address. So with abandoned cart functionality, you can send out an email and say, hey, Jennifer, did you want to buy that sundress and those bracelets? Well, and then you show them a picture of it. Well, they're right here and they were this much. Are you ready to check out now? And she is very, very strongly likely to go back and click finish checkout, have all that stuff back in her cart and check out. So we don't want to be losing sales to people who may have abandoned their carts. So again, we want to make sure that's implemented. That's part of having a really great e-commerce presence. I guarantee you Pink Lily has that. So here's just a few examples of what shopping emails might look like. And these platforms we've talked about have some really great templates and stuff to help you get going really fast. Also, Andante can help you to build out templates that are custom to your store. And then I'm going to talk about organic social media for a second, but I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca, and she's going to really fill us in on this. I just want to say, you know, I can't understate how important it is to keep posting to social media as often as possible. And it's something that we do for our business. It's something that we recommend for our clients to do. It's something that we do for some clients. And then Facebook Live is extremely powerful. You can see here, I've got the Salty Lime Boutique. I've got Vintage Mercantile. These people are going live on Facebook, I think at least once a week, and they're doing really, really great sales. I really like what the Salty Lime Boutique is doing. It may be difficult to see here, but she's actually showing a picture of her inventory and what sizes she has available and the exact words to comment if you want to buy that piece right there. The Vintage Mercantile, they're going live once a week, and they stay live for 2 hours where they present their products, and then they spend the rest of the week shipping that stuff out. So these are some great opportunities that if you're not doing them, please do them. If you have a following of a few thousand people or more, this will work for you. And if it's already working for you, it can work better for you if you grow your following and you continue to get more people to like your page. All right, Rebecca, it's all you.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Yes, so I'm so excited to talk about social media. I love all things Instagram and Facebook. So I'm going to talk first about Instagram and just some quick tips. So when you're setting it up, it's just really important to think about who you are, because first impressions are important, and that's going to be people's first impression of you is your is Instagram and your bio. So on your bio, you want to keep it simple, catchy, use emojis, tell people who you are. You have a limited amount of space, so you just really want to be creative with how you tell people that. You can encourage engagement, so ask your followers to use your hashtag or tag you for a chance to get reposted. So then those users are now generating content for you. And create your highlights. So keep them simple and uniform, and that's stuff that will stay on your Instagram bio section for forever. So if it's like, you want the section for tops, dresses, new arrivals, whatever. So that's something to keep in mind. So then I want to show y'all just some examples of some really good Instagram bios that I like. So you can, wait, do I need to go? You can go to the next slide. So this is Steel City Pops. Obviously they're in Alabama, Texas, Kentucky, all natural, gluten-free gourmet pops. Sounds so amazing. Use the link tree below for location, menu, catering, and loyalty program info. So they're doing the call to action. They're wanting you to click. They're letting you know it's gluten-free, where they are. And then they've done a really great job on their highlights of making them uniform but fun. You've got dip combos, customers, behind the scenes, and menu. So I love that one. Okay, we can go to the next one. So Shop Red Dress. This is a clothing boutique, women's clothing store, new arrivals twice a day, so I can expect to see something new every day. They're in Georgia, and then tag hashtag #RDBabe to be featured on our Insta, and then shop our feed. And they've done all of their highlights and kind of categorized them, and it's all keeping with their really pink theme. Okay, so I think there's one. Oh, yes, and then Discover Denison. So welcome to the official Denison Tourism IG account. Share your discoveries using hashtag Discover Denison for your chance to be featured. And then I've kind of made our highlights in that blue kind of color that's similar to our logo. And then I have our link tree, which I'll talk about that too, that has a couple different links in there that you can click. Okay, let's see. So then moving on to your feed, because presentation is everything. These are just 3 quick things to keep in mind to keep your theme consistent. So whether it's maybe a color palette or a type of product, you just kind of want to keep consistency and use quality photos. And I just mean by quality, I mean like, you want good photos. You want photos that really show your product well and make people either say, man, I want to eat that, I want to buy that, what is that? And photos that are on brand. So you don't want to necessarily, if your target audience is like women age 35 to 45, you might not want to post a picture of like an 18-year-old person wearing your product or something. So just keeping all that stuff in mind, and show your personalities. So these are 2 examples side by side of 2 different feeds. The one on the left is Pecan Lodge, and it's barbecue, and the right is Beauty in Essex, and that's in New York. And you can just kind of tell by both of them kind of the vibe and the feel. Like, Pecan Lodge, I look at that and I'm like, I really need barbecue right now. Those photos are amazing. And then at Beauty in Essex, I can expect live music. I can expect maybe like a fun girls' night out, a great cocktail. It looks more fine dining. And then the next one I think are, okay, So these are two other restaurants, Trinity Groves in Dallas and then Cinema in Nashville. And Trinity Groves is basically like a giant food hall. They have a lot of different options. And just by looking at that, I can tell like they're targeting to everyone. You've got a cute young girl with a margarita, a mom, you know, looking at cake. You've got an older couple drinking cocktails on the patio. There's pasta, there's wine. I can look at that and kind of get a feel for what to expect. And at Cinema, it looks, you know, like a fun date night. It's a little moody. It looks like they've got really great craft cocktails. So a little bit more on the high end side. And I think the next one are two boutiques, yes. So Pink Lily Boutique, which we've already mentioned, and Flea Style. And Pink Lily does a really great job of using influencers to show their product, and they do really great flat lays so that you kind of have a diverse, you know, you have people wearing it and then you have the flat lay also. And Flea Style, she shows herself in a lot of her photos, which I really like. You kind of see her personality, and you can tell like by her color palette. It's a little bit on the boho side. You kind of know what her style probably is before even going there. And let's see, okay. And then the other thing to think about when you're posting to Instagram is to think outside your zip code. So think bigger than Denison, because you can reach so many people. So some of the things that you can do are use influencers. And these are two influencers that we actually use for tourism. And what's great about that is that they are reaching a whole nother set of, you know, whole another audience that you might not be. But when you do use influencers, you still want to stay on brand. So you want people, you know, that are good representations of who you are, and people that would be likely to use your product, you know, shop at your store, what have you. And you also want to look at their engagement rate. So just because somebody has 500,000 followers may not necessarily mean that they're a great influencer to use if they're not engaging very many of those followers. So I would rather use micro influencers with a smaller following but higher engagement. And follow successful businesses outside your community. So like for tourism, I follow tons of different tourism Instagram accounts, and I'll see, you know, what they're posting, what types of photos, just to kind of get an idea of what other people are doing, just because I think it's a great way to, you know, again, think bigger, and, you know, if they're doing it and it works, it might be something worth trying. And tag. So an example for this for Discover Denison is I tag like every Texas travel magazine out there, and they may not repost it. But what's going to happen is my post is going to show up on their tagged photos. So it's just another way to, again, start trying to get more followers and get more people outside of your community seeing what you're posting. And use hashtags strategically. So again, thinking outside of Denison, if you're just hashtagging Denison hashtags, you're probably only people in Denison are going to see it. So like I will hashtag travel Texas, Texas travel, Texas road trip, you know, weekend getaway, whatever I can think of, along with my Denison hashtags, so that I'm reaching people who are searching for, you know, Texas travel or whatever. So however that relates to your business, just think about those, you know, a couple of those hashtags that you can use, and look at other businesses, like if it's a boutique or whatever, to see what hashtags they're using. And some tips on growing an engaged audience. So be authentic, be you, be real. People love that. Show yourself or your team, and this may not relate to everybody, but like how Flea Style, she shows herself on her Instagram, just because people like to kind of, I think, have an idea of who they're doing business with, and it makes you relatable. And be consistent. So post consistently, post on your stories regularly, and just continue to be on social media. And then again, if you don't have a quality photo, don't post it. If you're not happy with it, if it doesn't represent your brand, just don't do it. It's better to wait than to post something that you don't necessarily like. Always tag your location. So if it's Denison, if it's maybe your actual business, always try to do that as much as possible. post to your stories regularly, and then do giveaways. So that's a great way to partner with like businesses or influencers. And basically, you'd be offering something, and then the influencer or the business would say, follow, X, Y, and Z, like this photo, tag your friends, and you would do the same. And it just creates, a huge surge of following and engagement. And so here are some of my favorite apps that I like to use for Instagram: Lightroom and Snapseed for photo editing. Lightroom is awesome because you can download presets. You can actually buy presets from Etsy. So that's a great way to keep your feed looking consistent and not necessarily worrying about like really editing your photos. You just slap a preset on it and it looks like the rest of them. And Preview and Planoly for scheduling. So these are great time savers because you just go in there and you can see how your feed is going to look in advance. So like if you're a restaurant, you might not want to post like 2 pictures of salads next to each other, like back to back. You might want to spread it out a little bit. So it's a good way to kind of see what you're doing. And Linktree is awesome because you can put multiple links in your bio. And the one thing that I've seen people do on occasion is just randomly, but people will post links in their actual post on Instagram, and that doesn't work because you can't copy and paste the link. So you need to be posting your link in your bio, and then in the caption on Instagram say, click link in bio. But with Linktree, you could have if you're a boutique, you could have shop new arrivals, sale items, subscribe to our email list, whatever, all multiple links within the one link on Instagram, if that makes sense. And then Canva for templates and design. This is great. You can create Instagram story templates. If you have like a Memorial Day sale and you want your Instagram to say like Memorial Day sale, half off, whatever, you can size it for Instagram in Canva, upload your own photos, your own everything. So it's a really great tool, and that one is free, or you can pay $12.99 for it, but it's free too. And then I have just some quick Facebook tips. I feel like a lot of people are pretty confident with Facebook. My recommendation is not to post more than once a day. People with 500,000 followers, they can post 5 times a day and they're still going to engage a significant amount of that audience. But when you're trying to grow it, I would say post just once a day. And also look at reach versus engagement. And this applies to Instagram too. Just because you reached 20,000 people doesn't necessarily mean that you engaged a good amount of them. So you just always want to look at your engagement. Reach is great, but just try to make sure that you're engaging your audience. And do Facebook Lives, and we've already talked about that, how great those are for sales. You can also do that in your Instagram stories. I have bought so much stuff on Facebook Live sales during my lunch hour. So it's like the best thing ever. But you could also use it for just getting to know you, getting to know your store. It's a really great feature, and Facebook prioritizes the live. So you're going to get a lot of engagement out of that. And don't post external links too much. Facebook likes for people to stay on Facebook. So if you're constantly directing people to click your website or click this, click that, eventually it will start losing engagement. So I wouldn't do that, like maybe a couple of times a week. And then again, do giveaways, because you can do pretty much the same thing that you're doing on Instagram on Facebook. And that's just, again, another great way to grow that engagement. I think that was it. Yay, it was.
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. I really appreciate you preparing these slides. Rebecca put all that together for us. So thank you so much. And I saw Rebecca present some similar stuff when she was talking about what she'd been doing for Discover Denison. And if you're not following Discover Denison, you should be. It's a really neat channel where Denison is being marketed as a tourist stop. And Rebecca's behind all that, and I've been watching it, and I really like how Denison is doing that and the direction that they've headed with that. So I asked Rebecca to join us, and thank goodness she did. The other thing, also, I just kind of want to add a couple of things to that too, though. She said do giveaways. And giveaways are a great way to engage people, but also it's a great way to get people to show up to your store to pick it up. So if you want to increase foot traffic, be thinking about that. I remember I've interacted with some radio stations placing ads and things, or going in to record an ad. And every time I'm at the radio station, there's literally nothing there, nothing to do there, but there's people there coming to like pick up tickets and stuff that they want. And just think about if they walked into your store, well, that's an opportunity for another sale. So the other thing I want to mention too is we're currently doing some things to grow our Instagram account. And we have found that simply going through like the search page and liking other people's accounts has done wonders for our numbers, and getting other people to notice us and to subscribe. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about planning for growth. We're getting to the end of the presentation here, and we've only got 15 minutes left, so I think we're going to finish a little early. So I mentioned this service called AdRoll. If you are growing and you've got to a point maybe where you think you've plateaued, AdRoll is a really neat service that helps you to put together campaigns, email campaigns and things. It provides a lot of data about audiences and helps you to be even more narrow with your reach and to be more strategic. Now, these types of things take a lot of time to implement, but the results can be tremendous. So if you've already grown your e-commerce store to a point where you're like, what's the next step for me? Check that out. And then the other thing is we've talked about loyalty programs and things. And so you can see it's number 3, but that applies into create your own app. Apps are an excellent way to get people's attention with a notification that's served directly to them. So you can notify people, and that can sometimes have even more impact than sending them a text or an email and just be like, hey, come to the store today, we've got 10% off, or hey, we just launched this new product, order it now through the app, things like that. And of course, the next level for you, if you don't already have one, is get a loyalty program. You want to reward those people that are keeping you in business. It's easier to do business again with a customer you already have than to try to go out and accrue new customers. The cost to acquire a customer is great. And so if you have people that love doing business with you, they bought from you before, make sure that you're rewarding them. And once again, you'll just want to mention what I mentioned before. Make sure you're getting their email addresses. You want to be able to stay in touch with them and communicate with them and remind them that you're on their radar and that you're an option whenever it comes to maybe their Christmas shopping or something. And then finally, if you put money into advertising for e-commerce, you're going to see results. And we want to be ready for growth. So make sure you have a plan there for shipping and warehousing, because as you do more volume, you're going to have more things to store. So do you have a place to keep those things right now? And I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. I do want to mention website analytics. You can't really grow unless you can measure where you are right now. You can't make change unless you can track changes. And so I found that out whenever I decided I was going to lose weight. I had to buy a scale first, help me to track where I was. So this is what we're doing for our website. We want to make sure that we see how many monthly visitors we have. Now, not all those visitors are staying there, so we want to see what the bounce rate is. Bounce rates for websites average around 80% or even higher, and this is quite normal. But we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to get our bounce rate lower. So if you have a bounce rate of around 95%, you need to say, what am I doing on my website? What's the first thing they see? And is it engaging? Is there a way I can make it load faster? Is there something I could write that would make them think and say, wait a second, I want to see what else is here. And then we want to look at that average length of site visit. If the average length of the site visit is 15 seconds, that's not enough time to pick out a product and buy it. So we want to get those site visits longer. How can we keep people on our site longer and engaged? And then we also want to be looking at, for e-commerce, we're looking at our cart value and the percentage of abandoned carts. And then we want to look at how much people are, so cart value is abandoned or not abandoned. And then we want to look at how much people are actually closing out. What's the average dollars per transaction they're doing? How many items are they buying with that transaction? Are they spending $1,000 at a time or $5 at a time? And if they're spending $5 at a time, your free shipping is not going very far. So we want to make sure we're aware of these things so we can adjust our business model appropriately. And of course, we just be watching your sales per month. Is it up? Is it down? How is it trending? What changes have we made that may make it trend positively or negatively? And how can I adjust? Because this is iterative. Everything we're doing is on the breaking point of the future. So we want to make sure that we're making changes as time goes, so that we can keep up with what's happening in the world. So that's the end. To summarize, we talked about preparing your business for e-commerce, making sure that you had a logo, branding, that you've got a website URL, that you have a website that maybe is ready for e-commerce. We talked about the steps to implement e-commerce, everything from photographing our product to writing about our product and putting it into the inventory management, point of sale systems. Then we talked about marketing for e-commerce, make sure we're getting traffic to our store, talking about promoting specific products via Facebook and Google and Instagram, and how easy that can be with different platforms like Shopify. We talked about good social media management. Anyway, just want to thank everybody for attending. If you want to know if your business is ready for e-commerce, we've put together a little checklist. If you visit www.undaunted.agency/download, there's a little form there, and you can download this checklist and kind of work through it and determine where you are and where you want to be. Maybe what the next steps are to take your business to the next level. So I want to go ahead and open it up to Q&A again. This is our last Q&A of the day, and I appreciate everybody for staying with us this long and listening. It means a lot to me.
We have a question here. It says, how do you choose a target audience for Facebook ads or any digital ads?
What was the question?
How do you choose a target audience for Facebook ads or any digital?
Am I unmuted? Yep. Okay.
You're totally unmuted.
Sorry. So, I mean, you can go, I would base it off of like what you are finding in your Google Analytics for some of it, for some of your demographics, and do it that way. And I would always create an ad on Facebook and don't boost a post. You're going to reach more people that way. And then you can also do like a couple of different audiences and just test them and see how, like which one might take off. And then you can do redirect ads. So for people who have seen your Facebook ads, they can get a new ad that says, like, let's just say like the first one, and you're kind of testing the waters with people like, hey, get to know us. And then your second one may be a little bit more in depth to people who responded to the first ad. And then your third ad might be a call to action to the people who are really highly engaging in what you're putting out, if that makes sense.
And I'd like to add to that. So Rebecca brings out a great point about using existing data. So using data to drive decisions, which is 100% correct. You cannot go wrong with that. But if you don't have data yet and you're just getting started, definitely, like we talked about, look at the people that are coming in your store and try to match that to the people that that you want to come to your store. And then you can also build that aspirational client, and you can build an actual client. So again, trying to market to different groups that you can build. Like we talked about building a target market audience. But again, like she said, if you have the data, you can just lean right into, okay, so we're more likely to close with a 55-year-old woman in this income bracket in this area. Let's just go ahead and serve them as many ads as we can.
And I just want to add that whenever you create that target market audience, save it, and then you can make variations off of that. But when you find something that works, save that audience, name it something that shows you what it is, and then you don't have to spend all of that time recreating that audience with each new ad.
Yes. Jonathan, are there any other questions or anything we can discuss?
There no new questions at the moment. So I think we covered everything. And oh wait, we got another one. What if your physical client is one age range, but you want your market online to be a younger age range?
There's nothing wrong with that. First of all, I would think about positioning. You want to make sure that your store is branded and the images and everything are in such a way that appeals to this age range. We want to make sure we have the right products for that age range, that if we have products for an older population, that we're not actually listing them on that store, and that any ad sets that we're building are being served to a target market audience in the age range that we're going for. But again, if you want to be successful in business, sometimes you just have to lean into who buys your stuff. I remember I have a friend who started a short film series online. She thought it was really going to appeal to 18 to 25-year-olds, and it turned out to be a huge hit with preteens. It was absolutely out of this world crazy, but she was like, okay, so for season 2, we'll just make it about the characters, but they're younger. And so she actually got a bunch of preteen actors and then worked with them and did a web series. So I would just say, lean into what makes you successful.
I think like Rebecca was saying, I think on the Trinity Grove posts, you saw contents that targeted older people and younger people. And so I think it's good to have that mix on your social media or in your ads. Just start targeting the people that you want, and you'll see more of the results in that area. If it is, like a older demographic in person, pictures of that demographic at your storefront, it may be how you can target them to come into your store. And then online shopping, you can, have influencers of that age range with your clothing or whatever the object that you're selling is.
I'm curious if Rebecca has something to add to this.
Oh, I was literally just going to say use influencers because, and how you stage your product or present it to a younger generation is going to be a little bit different. I think too, like mostly the older generation aren't necessarily on Instagram as much. So you might not need to post as much that caters to them if they're coming into your store, but definitely using influencers in the age range that you're trying to target on social would be a great way to do that.
Perfect. We are being asked the website for the worksheet again. Can you go back one, Nate?
Yes.
And then a final question, and I think we'll end it with this one. And I think, Rebecca, you, if you could touch on this. Are stories on Instagram valuable for advertising?
Yes, absolutely.
So
So like I said before, when like my friend that sells stuff on her Instagram stories, I've sold stuff on my Instagram stories. And if you're using influencers, what's great is that they can, if they have over 10,000 followers, they can do the swipe up. So, and then you'd be able to get those analytics from them that say how many people actually swiped up on your post if they're selling a product for you. And then also utilizing the highlights feature. So if you have stuff that might be not, going away as fast, like if you're showcasing products, you can categorize them on your highlights so that they stay there for a longer period of time, for forever, really, until you delete them.
great point.
Fantastic. Do you have time for one more question? We actually got 2 people asking, how do you use influencers, or how do you find an influencer?
So that's a good question. So I have just, there's some that I just know of, that I've known of before I started here to use for tourism. And then I have looked at who is following them or who they are following. And then I've also searched Texas travel influencers or whatever. And then I've also looked at like Choctaw Casino uses influencers a lot, and they use similar ones. So I've seen who they are using. So it's kind of just a research, you kind of just start clicking around, searching, and you'll kind of start to find people. And the way that you use an influencer is, they all kind of work differently. For some, at least on the tourism side, some will either say, just pay us, just reimburse us for our travel, and we'll post the photos, we'll post our Instagram story, we'll do a blog, and then, I have the photos now to use on my social media. Some will say, it's a fee to do X amount of posts or X amount of stories or whatever. So they're just going to all work a little bit differently. You just want to make sure that when you are working with them, that they are doing what you ask them to do. I've seen people before use influencers who you know, again, just have the following, but don't have the engagement and aren't really doing them a service. They're posting pictures, but it's not like you can tell I don't really like the product. So it's like, you know, you just want to be careful that you're using people that really do like your product and that will follow through and be able to give you the insights into what, you know, what they've done. I don't know if that helps.
Did you also look to your competition
Yeah.
and see who they're using and who similar people in the industry are using, and then they could promote you as well?
Yeah. So like literally almost every blogger that I follow promotes Pink Lily Boutique. And then that's how I found Pink Lily. Because I was like, man, this is cute. What is this? And I'm like, oh, Pink Lily Boutique. I need to go check them out. So it's just looking at, you know, yeah, like your competition. Like I look at Choctaw, I'll look at, you know, Visit Dallas, I'll look at, you know, surrounding communities and see what they're doing that is similar to what I would like to do.
Yeah, and not every influencer is also going to be like a model or lifestyle influencer. There's some that just curate like fun things to do in Texas or, you know, shopping. There's some Dallas influencers I know of that do stuff like that. So
Yeah, there's food influencers.
There's an influencer for all kinds of things online. It's impressive, and it takes a little research to find the right person for you.
Also, if you have a boat and you can take them out to Lake Texoma, they might just do anything for free.
Awesome.
Are there any other questions?
I think that's it. I think we have concluded all the questions. I'd like to thank everybody who participated, Rebecca, William, Nate. I think hopefully we have good information, and we will make this this webinar available online as a recording so that people can use it as reference in the future.
And we definitely want to thank the attendees for coming on. And I know it's an hour and a half, so some of you stuck there with us the whole time, and we really appreciate that. If you have any questions for us afterwards, look us up and get those applications in.
Yeah, thanks so much for choosing to spend your hour and a half with us. Really appreciate you guys.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh,
You're not on camera.
I just might.